Thank you all so much for joining us today. We're really, really glad to be here. We're going to go ahead and get started with just some introductions. We'll introduce ourselves and then I'll get right into a brief presentation, just kind of going over the application process, reminders on some admissions deadlines. We'll talk a little bit about kind of early decision, and then we'll leave a good amount of time for questions as well. So we'll make sure to leave about 45 minutes or so for questions. But we'll get started with the little presentation. But before I present, I'll go ahead and I'll let our students introduce themselves as well. We have four incredible current students here with you all. All of these students applied early decision as well, so hopefully we'll be able to answer lots of your questions. So as I'm talking, feel free to use the Q&A to submit some of those questions, and we'll be sure to answer those as well. So my name is Emily Coffey. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a senior assistant director of admission at Northwestern, also the director of our tour guide program, and I oversee mostly the New York City area. So I am the regional representative for Northern New Jersey, Manhattan. This year I'm going to Brooklyn, Long Island, and a lot of that area. So excited to be here with y'all. I'll let Jonah start it off and then we'll just kind of popcorn around.
I'm Jonas Snyder. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, studying biology and a minor in chemistry on the pre-med track. I was recently accepted to the Early Acceptance and UPSP program, so we'll be attending Feinberg next year. Um, and yeah, super excited to be here. I'll pass it along to Kidman.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kidman. I'm a senior majoring in neuroscience, minoring in Chinese language and global health, also on the pre-health track. I'm originally from Omaha, Nebraska, so still within the Midwest.
I can go. Hi, I'm Madison. I'm from New York. I am studying journalism, Spanish, and integrated marketing in which is a certificate. And I'm a senior.
My name is Clara. I'm a third year. I'm from College Park, Maryland, just outside of DC. And I am double majoring in theater and general music, concentrating in education, and minoring in psychology.
Awesome. Thanks to all of our students for being here. So like I said, I'm going to get started with a quick presentation just to kind of make sure that we touch a little bit on the logistics of getting to Northwestern, and in particular, applying early decision to Northwestern. So these are kind of the pieces of the application up here. Many of you probably already know that we are a holistic admissions office. And so I like to say that holistic admissions means that we not only get to kind of look at the quantitative pieces of an application when we're looking at an applicant, but we also get to think about the qualitative pieces of that application as well, and really think about the context that our students are coming from. And so when we say holistic admissions, what it means is that we really think about each part of the application when we review your application. I think a lot of times when students think of admissions, we want to think of something like a scale with all of my like strong aspects on one side, the maybe not as strong aspects on another, and something tips the scale towards a decision eventually. But that's really not how holistic admissions works. Instead, it's a lot more like us putting together pieces of a puzzle. Each of you, all of our students, all of our applicants supply those pieces of the puzzle. You let us know kind of what you've been doing throughout high school, and it's our job to put together those pieces and help us create a larger picture of who you are now, how you got here from the last 4 years of high school, what you've been doing in high school, what you've been excited about, what you've been pursuing, who you want to be in college, and then how that specifically plays out at Northwestern. So those are the questions we ask ourselves as we go throughout the application. Probably one of the larger pieces of the puzzle, or at the very least the one we start with, is your academic profile. So you'll see listed there your high school transcript. With that, we also receive a really specific school profile form that gives us some insight into what's available at your high school, so that when we look at your transcript, when we assess your transcript, we're not just assessing your transcript in the context of our entire applicant pool, right? We're thinking about it within the context of your high school, what's available to you, the classes that you're able to take. We look at how your high school kind of grades those classes. So we'll go off your GPA. We won't recalculate it or anything like that. We have high schools that have 4.0 GPAs, 5.0. I have a school in Brooklyn that has no grades. It's exciting every year. So it's going to be different from school to school. And we really, really go based on kind of the context that you're coming from within your high school. The other sections of the application essays, letters of support or recommendation letters from your school. You're welcome to send a test score if you would like to were test optional at Northwestern. About a third of students in our admitted student class last year were test optional as well, so you'll be in good company if you apply test optional. And about 2/3 of students do send a test score. And then you'll have an activities section as well, kind of telling us a little bit about how you spend your time outside of the classroom. All of those pieces of the application are going to be the same regardless of which application you apply on. We accept the common applications, the most common one that we receive, kind of by far, the coalition application, and then we're also a QuestBridge school, which means we accept applications from a program called QuestBridge, scholarship program. It's a specific matching-based program for first generation and low-income students. So our QuestBridge is kind of a specific application, but regardless of like, besides that, everything else is the same. All three of these applications will ask you for largely the same kind of pieces. You'll also have the same application regardless of which of the 6 schools you're applying to. The one exception to this rule is the fact that it is the Beanan School of Music. You'll apply with the common application, with the coalition application for the Beanan School of Music, but you'll also have an additional music application, an additional music supplement that has a separate application, and that's how you'll get through kind of the audition process and everything like that. But otherwise, for our 6 schools, we have the same admit rate between all 6 schools. We have the same application requirements and the same admissions criteria between all 6 schools as well. Up here, you can also see we have early decision and regular decision. So this is obviously the early decision panel. I know a lot of you are probably considering Northwestern as your school for early decision. So we probably are a little familiar with early decision, but I want to just outline a few things about early decision versus regular decision. So a lot of the things are the same between early and regular decision. The application requirements are the same. So all the things you see up on this screen, that's the same between early and regular. The admissions criteria is the same between early and regular. So all of the stuff that gets you into Northwestern, that's the same between early and regular. And then the financial aid is going to be the same between early and regular decision. And I'll talk a little bit about why that is on the next slide. The things that are different about early and regular decision, obviously the timeline is different. So if you're applying early decision, you apply November 1st. You'll hear back around December 15th. So about an month and a half timeline. November 1st application, December 15th, kind of hear back. Regular decision, you'll apply January 2nd, and you'll hear back around the end of March. So it's a little bit longer of a process and obviously later of a process. The other thing that's different is the commitment level. So early decision, unlike early action, unlike single choice early action, early decision is a binding agreement. So that means that when you apply early decision, you, your college counselor, and your parent or guardian will all sign an agreement that essentially says, if I get into Northwestern, I will attend Northwestern. If you apply regular decision, of course, if we admit you, we would love for you to attend, but you're not bound to attend Northwestern, right? So it's more of a commitment to apply early decision. And the last thing that's different between early and regular decision is the size of the pools. And by that, I mean the number of students who apply early versus regular decision. Last year, we had about 5,000 students apply early decision, and the next 45,000 students applied regular decision. So even though the admissions criteria is the same, the requirements are the same, you're applying with a lot more people through regular decision. It's good to note that we typically take about half of our class through early decision, so that's around 1,000 students each year. So good to keep in mind, again, even though the admissions criteria is the same, you're applying with a lot more people through regular decision. I mentioned before that the financial aid would be the same between early and regular, and that's because we're totally need-based in our financial aid, and we're committed to meeting 100% of students' demonstrated needs. So if you were to go online right now, check out our net price calculator or our My Intuition tool, if you put in some information about your family's finances, you'd get out a pretty good estimate of what Northwestern estimates your family will contribute in tuition each year. Northwestern is going to take our sticker price cost of attendance, which includes tuition, room and board, travel costs, textbook costs, all the costs associated with attending Northwestern. We're going to subtract that estimated family contribution, also known as your student aid index through the FAFSA, if you're kind of thinking in FAFSA terms. And then we'll cover the difference in financial aid. So let's say in a perfect world, Northwestern costs $10 a year. If your family can afford $2 a year, Northwestern's going to give you that remaining $8 a year in financial aid. All of the financial aid will come in the form of work study, grant money, and scholarship money. You won't have any loans in that financial aid package. Now, you can take out loans to cover the remaining $2, and most students will, but you won't have any of the loans in that initial financial aid package, so you won't owe any money back to Northwestern at the end of your time. There are a few other things that we can promise our students as we go through this admissions and financial aid promise. Or process. The first one is that we're committed to meeting 100% of demonstrated need. The second one is that we are committed for our domestic students. When we read your application, the amount of need that you have will not impact your admissions decision. So if you're a U.S. citizen, permanent resident, or DACA recipient, it does not matter how much financial need you have. We as admissions officers will not see that when we read your application. If you're an international student, the amount of need you have will make an impact on your admissions decision, and it's good to know that. But if you're a domestic student applying to Northwestern, the amount of financial need you have has no bearing on the admissions decision that you receive. And again, meeting 100% of demonstrated need, and 100% of that demonstrated is met without loans. So those are the three commitments that we can make to students, and we're only one of about a dozen schools in the country that can make all three of those commitments as well. You can see some statistics up here to see what financial aid has looked like the last couple of years at Northwestern. About 64% of students receiving financial aid. We also kind of new this year have some big broad estimates up here to help families kind of get a sense for what financial aid might look like at Northwestern for them. So good to note that most families making less than $70,000 per year with normal assets attend Northwestern at no cost at all. Most families making less than $150,000 per year with normal assets attend Northwestern tuition free, so only paying for things like room and board or textbook costs or different things like that. I would definitely encourage you to go online to our financial aid website and check out kind of all the information that they have. They also have options to meet with them individually to have 15-minute virtual conversations with our financial aid advisors, especially if you're interested in early decision. It's good to have those conversations early on. I will say that even though early decision is a binding agreement, financial aid is one of the few reasons that will allow students to kind of be released from that binding agreement. If we can't give you enough financial aid, if we can't make Northwestern financially tenable for you, we will release students from their financial aid agreement. Happens to very few students each year. I think 3 to 5 each year out of 1,000 students that we admit. And that's because students and parents are doing the work on the front end to make sure that Northwestern's a good financial fit before applying early decision. So I'd really encourage you to use those financial tools, the net price calculator, your financial aid advisors you're welcome to meet with. After that, once you apply to Northwestern, to apply to financial aid, you'll turn in the FAFSA and the CSS profile. Those are the two documents we require from you. We'll also ask you to turn in your tax returns from the prior year. So those are the three total things we'll need from you for your financial aid application, and those will be due typically about a month after you apply. So for early decision, you'll apply November 1st. We'll need your financial documents by December 1st. For regular decision, it's January 2nd and February 1st. All right, that was the logistical information, and hopefully we've got some reminders about deadlines. November 1st is that date if you're applying early decision that we'll expect you all to turn in your application materials. If you're still waiting on stuff from, recommendation letters, if you're waiting on those to come in, if you're waiting for your school to send us something or test scores to be sent to us officially, that's okay. By November 1st, we expect you to have everything that you are in charge of into the application, either through the Common App or the coalition application. And then if you have stuff that you're sending after that, that's all right. If not everything's ready from other people in your application. And then if you're applying for financial aid, you'll turn that in December 1st. All right. Wonderful. We have a good amount of questions in the Q&A. So, to our current students, if y'all are you're welcome to kind of start typing in here, but I'll go ahead and get us into this Q&A. So I answered one of these questions, what's the most recent acceptance rate? So last year's class, about 5,000 students applied, and we had about 1,000 that we admitted. So it was around 20% last year, 7% overall typically. Wonderful. Let's get some questions. A lot of these are of Kidman. We got a question here. Does there tend to be an even distribution among, okay, well, that's more for me. This person is from Omaha. That's exciting. The question, does there tend to be an even distribution among majors that apply ED, or does it trend heavily one way or another? We see kind of a lot of different majors, all of our schools represented, all of our different majors represented in our early decision pool typically. Amazing. I guess let's start with kind of just a general question for you guys. Like, what made you kind of ultimately decide to apply early decision? If there was kind of one thing, if it was multiple things. I see Claire is answering this question as she types in, but we can answer it live as well. Yeah. Maddie, you want to start?
Yeah, for me, I think it was really the program. I knew that I wanted to go to Medill if I could get in, and I just wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to just apply early. It was also a stress reliever. I'm a planner, and I wanted to plan the rest of my senior year, so it just helped ease my mind a little to at least apply to Northwestern ED.
Clara, did you have you want to share your thoughts out loud?
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually I came to Northwestern pretty late. Like it had been on the back of my mind, but I didn't actually properly look into it until actually this panel, my senior year. I was like, I guess I'll go to whatever they're offering. And as soon as I properly looked into Northwestern, I was late on doing so. I really fell for it within honestly just a couple of weeks. So within 3 weeks, I decided I was applying ED. And for me, that was honestly because I knew that I wanted to be studying theater and arts in college, and I was having a really hard time finding schools that were going to be really great artistically, and set me up for a good career after graduating and also push me academically. And Northwestern was really the only school I found that I thought would do both. So as soon as I learned about that, I was definitely sold.
Love that. Jonah, Kidman, you want to jump in?
Yeah. So for me, it was a combination of a lot of things. I came to Northwestern as a chemical engineering major, and I was really found Northwestern as a school that really offered good things across the board. So I wasn't fully sure. Of course, I've changed my major a couple times since, and I felt supported throughout. And I knew that whatever path I were to go down, I would be in a great place academically. And I've also fell in love with Chicago as a kid, and I've been able to experience that a lot while as a student here. So yeah, it was definitely the right fit for me.
Yeah, I think for me, I had always, I would say, like been interested in Northwestern, but it wasn't really until I came here the August before I started my senior year that kind of really solidified that moment for me. Like being on campus, seeing the beautiful views, talking to the students, hearing more about like admissions, I realized that Northwestern really was the school for me. And then more specifically, I would say the academic flexibility we have here on campus because we're on a quarter system compared to our peers who are on the semester system. It really does allow me, for example, to pursue different avenues, such as doing a minor in Chinese language and global health. I thought I was going to come in here being a data science minor, and through my coursework, I realized that that was something I didn't want to pursue. And I think that's like the great thing, kind of how Jonah was hinting, is that you really do have the ability to kind of like try different things before you have to solidify to a specific career track or whatever it may be. And then especially the people here are super, super supportive. And it's really a teamwork effort here at Northwestern, which I really appreciated because I wanted to be in a very welcoming, supportive environment, not only with my peers, but also the professors and advisors I've had throughout the last 4 years.
Awesome. That's a kind of a good transition to the next question. And Jonah, you mentioned this already, so maybe we have you start. What does process of switching majors look like within schools? And then has anyone here switched schools? Yes, no, yes. Okay, sweet, sweet. So we'll have you, yeah, can go for that too.
Yeah, so I think I was just answering something in the chat. I said it was same question, but so like I said, I started as a chemical engineering student, which is in the McCormick School of Engineering. I'm now a student, like I said, studying biology and chemistry in the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences. But I switched initially from McCormick to Weinberg as a neuroscience major. So I've done both switches. One involved a meeting with my advisor. I think there was some paperwork. So if you start a quarter as in one school, it takes until the start of the next quarter where you officially join that school as your home school. I've since changed my major a couple times within the Weinberg College of Arts arts and sciences, and that usually involves some, like I said, some paperwork, meeting with an advisor, and credits transfer much more easily within a school rather than between schools in terms of the requirements necessary to graduate. So very easy process, very low stress, and I think that really allows you to kind of seek out different academic paths without any stress. So.
Awesome. And what do you guys feel like the work-life balance is like at Northwestern? Whoever wants to start can start. You guys all do like, I guess Kidman and Jonah, you do fairly similar science, but we also have some journalism and theater represented here, so you can get a few different takes on what work-life balance looks like here.
I can start first. I would say for me, in my experience, transitioning to college can definitely be a challenging time, just with a multitude of factors of like moving to a different state, getting used to the dining hall, getting used to the quarter system, living in a dorm and whatnot. So in my experience, my freshman year, just kind of transitioning everything, and then not only my lifestyle, but also like what works best for me, like studying and social life, because it's different from when you had school in high school where you have like, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., something along the lines of that, versus here, you could have maybe just 2 classes a day, but teachers really expect you to do a lot of that workload outside of class. So it's really your priority as a student to really make sure that you're understanding the content, that you're taking notes, that you're doing the homework, that you're preparing for exams and whatnot. So nevertheless, I will say with the quarter system, I mentioned the academic flexibility, but there is, I will say to an extent, a double-edged sword sometimes where I do have midterms that will overlap on the same week. I might have a heavier week, I might have a lighter week and whatnot. And so I think for me, in terms of like time management, I really do prioritize by having like lists, by having a Google Calendar showing me all the different meetings and all the different classes I'm going to take. So I realize, okay, this week, I have a lot that I need to do, or like, I think I'm stretching myself a little too thin. So I think being able to visually see your schedule is really helpful. And then prioritizing, like, yes, we're students, but I think Northwestern does a great job prioritizing both our social life too. So, going out to Chicago, hanging out with friends, spending times with clubs and whatnot, you'll typically do in the afternoon after your classes are also really important. So I think the work-life balance, it can be, I think, a challenge kind of adjusting and getting used to it. But now I feel like, especially in my junior and now senior year, I have a flow that really works for me. But definitely at the start of it, just with, at least in my experience, and I don't know if Jonah can attest to it, but some of the lab work that you do might take a bit longer versus now my junior and senior year, I don't have like courses that require an additional lab. So my free time does open a lot more towards my end of college.
Yeah, I'd say I agree with a lot of that. I think it's really a learning experience being able to balance a lot of this stuff. And I think in the beginning it was hard to find what was the most important, because on one hand you want to meet a lot of people, meet new friends, create new relationships, but at the same time you're coming here to learn. And I think it's important just to listen to both yourself and kind of how you're feeling about your classes. Do you feel behind? And everything kind of just works out throughout the 4 years while you're here. And I think it's just an incredible skill to develop while at such a young age, being able to balance important things, both school and friends, and taking care of yourself and making sure you're eating right, and all these things. I think college, especially in Northwestern, does a great job at creating this balance. So um, everybody gets through it, and I think we do play hard and work hard here. So great balance.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different experience just because as a theater major, it's like it's a whole different ball game. So obviously, yeah, like I have a lot less homework in my classes, like in my arts classes, than in things like chemistry or calculus. But if you are a theater major or just someone in like maybe like Beanon or the music school or something, there is definitely a lot more like out of class other stuff to do. So if you're involved in like a show on campus, that's going to be anywhere from 20 to 30 hours a week, which is a lot of time. If you're a music major, obviously there's lots and lots of practice hours. So it's a little bit it's a little bit more like on you to kind of figure out how you can make all of that additional time you need to spend kind of work within your schedule. It'll be a little less structured than like, well, by Monday XYZ is due, and so you're going to need to be very diligent about like making sure that you're on track, because there's not necessarily a professor who's keeping track of like how you're doing in rehearsal or how you're doing in your practice. So it definitely is very much like a kind of an independence game, but I do really think that it is very possible to make work. I also think that as like a theater major, like you also will be taking more like regular like non-theater classes that are still going to have like bigger homework loads. So just being mindful about like how many of those you're taking at once if you're also planning to like be in a show or like a big performing ensemble or something.
Maddie, anything to add?
Yeah, I just didn't want to sound like a broken record. I think my experience is probably similar, more similar to Clara's, but for journalism, you're going to be interviewing people outside of class. So I think a lot of my, I don't know, learning how to manage my time and just like the play hard but work hard um, balance just came with time. And I would also say, in terms of clubs, join things and what you're studying, but like do things that you're actually interested in, even though that's obvious. But I really don't feel as much pressure and stress in classes and clubs because I have like a genuine passion for what I'm studying and doing, which makes it a little easier when you're stressed out because you have X, Y, and Z due. If you're doing something you actually like and you think about the bigger picture, like after you finish that exam or you finish interviewing this person or editing this video, like everything will be fine. Like you're gonna be fine. So just reminding yourself like you're here to get the degree and also make amazing friends and connections.
Love that. I have some questions in here about the application I want to quickly touch on. So I had a question about submitting like a video submission. Just a reminder for students that we don't we do have Glimpse, which is a video submission kind of website that students can use where it's a separate website and you can put in your Glimpse video, and it's a short minute-long video that students are welcome to submit if they'd like to, and then you can click which applications you'd like it to go to. So Northwestern does work with Glimpse, so if you want to use that, you're welcome to submit that. We didn't start working with Glimpse until like last year, I think, and so there's also a question in there about whether these students decided to submit a Glimpse video, but these students did not have the opportunity to. I will say it was a pretty small number of students that submitted them last year. And it's just like anything else, you know, a small piece of the puzzle that just gives us a little bit more insight into you. Not required for admission, not, you know, looked down upon if you don't submit it. Again, it was a small group, but if you want to share your personality a little bit through that, you're welcome to. Have some good questions in here about what the quarter system is like, and I know we're answering some of them in the text, but maybe just quick a few thoughts on the quarter system, kind of out loud what it generally looks like, benefits to it. Clara, want to start?
Yeah, well, I love the quarter system. So just like the super brief overview is instead of, we still have 30 weeks of class every year, which is the same as any semester school, but instead of two 15-week terms, we have three 10-week terms. So we're shifted about 3 weeks later in terms of when we start and end class to make that work. So we have only one term before winter break. So that's like end of September to beginning of December. And then we have winter break, and then we have another quarter from the beginning of January to the middle of March. Then we have spring break, and then our last quarter from like the end of March to the beginning of June. So we'll again, like, yeah, we'll start about 3 weeks later and end about 3 weeks later than a lot of other colleges. So yeah, we just have more shorter terms of class, meaning that yes, your classes are going to generally cover a little bit less. They're not always going to pack like 15 weeks into a 10-week class. You don't have to worry about that. But yeah, so instead of taking around 40 classes by the time you graduate, with the quarter system, you can take about 48 because we're switching them up a little more frequently. So that is part of why double majoring or doing multiple programs is so common at Northwestern. Like because you're able to switch up your classes more often, it's easier to spread out what you're learning a little bit more, which is part of why I really like it. People do like to bring up that yes, like the one downside of the quarter system is that we are going to have exams 3 times a year instead of twice. But I always counter that by saying that you're never studying for more than 10 weeks of material at a time. So even though, yeah, you'll take finals 3 times a year, if you have like a cumulative exam, it'll be for 10 weeks rather than 15 weeks of material. So it generally does feel a little bit more manageable. The last thing I'll say is also, I just really like it because I feel like it lets me really focus on my classes more. Even classes I love, like by like the ninth week of the term, I'm like not at 100% anymore, but I can really push through and finish strong. And I often think like if I had to do this for 6 more weeks, like I don't know that I could give it my all anymore. So I like that. Everyone's gonna have their own opinion on it, but I have found the quarter system to be really, really helpful. Yeah.
Huh. Anything to add, others?
Yeah, it was definitely an adjustment when I first got here. Things moved a bit quickly, if I'm being honest. But I think, like I said, we're kind of building skills while we're at college, and this was something that we and a lot of my friends we acclimate to throughout each quarter. They kind of just start flying by. Where it's regular to have an exam. This is the third week of this quarter. I have an exam this Friday, and it doesn't feel weird. I know I'm ready to take it, and um, there'll be weeks where I have multiple exams, but that's just part of life here, and I think. Um, it goes back to that kind of balance where you're able to um, know that you have work, but you've prioritized it the past 7, 8 quarters. You know you can do it again, and I think it's been a really good experience being able to take so many classes. And one benefit, I think this is anybody that says that it could be a negative to have such fast-paced quarters that if you don't like a class, it only lasts 10 weeks as well. So that's another way to look at it.
Love. Um, Another kind of benefit of the quarter system, like we've been saying, is just that flexibility, right? Like ability to take a lot of courses. And you probably notice as people introduce themselves, they're doing some different programs, various programs. And a lot of the ability to do that is because of the flexibility of the quarter system. So we have some questions about kind of how to double major, minor, kind of how that works. Over 70% of Northwestern students are pursuing more than one program, so either a double major, major and a minor, something along those lines. There's a lot of flexibility in how you can do that. You can pursue a minor or a certificate in any of the 6 schools, regardless of which school you're a part of. So wherever you're majoring, whichever school you apply to, you can have a minor or certificate in any of the other 5 schools. You can also always have a second major in the College of Arts and Sciences. So we have 6 undergraduate colleges. The largest of those is the College of Arts and Sciences. That's also our most liberal artsy curriculum. And they've basically said these other 5 more specialized curricula satisfy our liberal arts curriculum. So we're okay with you majoring in these other schools and just adding on your second major from our school. The opposite is not true though, right? So if, Maddie's in the journalism school, if she wants to major in journalism, Medill says, we'd like you to complete our journalism and our school requirements, right? So Maddie's home school needs to be the journalism school, but she can add a second major, second minor, or a minor if she'd like to in any of the other schools. So that's kind of a broad overview, but it's a good way to think about it, of that flexibility that you have kind of between schools. You can also take classes in any of the 6 schools. The only thing that will ever bar you from taking a class is if one of those classes has prerequisites that you haven't taken before. So if it's like a 300 level class and you had to take the 100 and 200 level before it, that's the only thing that would kind of preclude you from taking a class. Folks kind of taking classes or pursuing programs across schools want to do some just quick shout out of what that's like, kind of what the advising looks like, how that process was of adding it.
Yeah, I can start because I'm in 3 schools. I came in as a School of Comm student. That's still my home school, doing theater. And around like the end of my freshman year, I decided that I wanted to add a general music major in BNN. So that was a very smooth process. Adding a BNN major can be a little more complicated if you're doing performance. But because I was doing general music, it was a little simpler. So I did the general music requirements that any anyone coming in as a first year would have done. So I had to do like an essay, like a writing example about music, like a mini audition, but it isn't as intense as the performance major auditions. And then just meet with them and talk about why I wanted to have the program. It was very smooth. I didn't like miss out on lots of stuff in that first year. So in terms of like sequences, like music theory and oral skills, which are two of the big ones, I just took my sophomore year with all the first years. So I got to know a lot of new students that way. That's very, very easy to do. It's okay to be like a year behind and take a first year sequence like that. And yeah, that was generally pretty smooth. And then I also added my psych minor, which is in the Arts and Sciences School in Weinberg. And that really just consisted of filling out a form. I went to meet with a psych advisor. They'll kind of give you like a little bit of a checklist and they'll talk about like what progress you've already made and what's left. But yeah, like Emily was saying, I only have to do like the main school requirements for the School of Communication. So it hasn't added a ton of work to my plate. I've really been able to kind of just pick and choose what of the like music and psych offerings have been a good fit for me.
Yeah, my experience was also really smooth. My homeschool is Medill, and then my Spanish minor is in Weinberg. Medill has like a small language requirement, so freshman year I was already taking Spanish classes, so it was really easy to just keep taking Spanish classes. And then I went abroad in Spain, so it was just a really easy transition to just keep it up. But yeah, it was super easy, and there's advisors for everything, so.
Yeah, let's talk a little about advising. And Jonah and Kidman jump in here too. Since HPA is a big advising beast in the Northwestern community. So I love to say that Northwestern gives you almost too many advisors, and you will narrow it down on the ones that y'all like to work with. So Maddie touched on it a little bit of how the advisors are helpful in just helping you navigate kind of multiple academic experiences, but they're also there for professional help, research opportunities, kind of various experiences. Does anyone want to touch a little on like what advising has been like for them? Maybe a couple of your go-to advisors and the help that they've given you.
Yeah, I can go first. So I think the really great thing, like that Emily touched on, is that you get an advisor for literally anything that you do. So I have an advisor for my major, I have an advisor for my minor, I have a Weinberg advisor, just my college advisor. Additionally, I have my pre-health advisor. So I think I have over like technically four advisors. But I would say the advisors that I meet with the most would probably be my Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences advisor, and then my pre-health advisor. My Weinberg College of Arts and Science advisor is really great, especially now that it is my senior year, making sure that I have all of the classes and that I need to graduate. How do I petition to graduate and all of those facts and whatnot. Maybe at the time I was interested in switching minors. I had talked to him about like what would that paperwork kind of look like, and it was super easy. So I really do like my Weinberg advisor, and I feel like he's really helped me just stay on top and make sure that I have all the like classes that I need. And then additionally, I would say my pre-health advisor has been phenomenal, especially from the get-go of our meeting. She outlined the courses that I would need to apply with for medical school. And then I also, you don't have to, but I like to meet with my advisor at least once a quarter for each advisor, mainly like my Weinberg and my pre-health advisor. But if you wanted to meet with, let's say, your Weinberg or pre-health advisor, like once a month or like maybe every other week, you really could. But nevertheless, with my advising, she told me what classes I need to take. I've had questions about like, how many volunteering hours do I need? When should I take the MCAT? What should I prepare for? How is it going to be like taking a gap year? What should I be doing in my gap year? And those questions, I feel like she's able to give a lot of experience and advice for me. So the advising here, I feel like has been really great. And because I have specific advisors for my specific areas, I'm never led astray. So if I have a specific question about pursuing, let's say, neuroscience honors, I can ask my neuroscience advisor specifically about that, which is really great because they don't have to like say, oh, I'm going to email this person and they'll get in contact with you. I can get advice and answers straight away.
Yeah, something else to add. A lot of, I guess, students across all schools will um, look to get involved with research here. I certainly did for 2 years while I was here, and we have a whole office dedicated to kind of helping students find a lab that's good for you. The Office of Undergraduate Research. They help you with crafting emails to professors, finding a lab that fits your needs for what you want to do post grad. If it's just something you want to do while you're here, they kind of help shape your experience to make sure that you're getting as much out of the experience as you need to. And I think it was a great resource for me getting kind of set up with my lab. And I've had a lot of friends that have had similar experiences that really helped them along the way in that regard.
Anything else to add? Awesome. I like this question. Outside of academics, what's your favorite part of Northwestern?
This might be a little bit of a cop out because I'm studying theater, but I think like the extracurricular like student art scene is just so fantastic. Like taking out the fact that it's like what I want to do for a career and all that. Like we just have such like a supportive and welcoming arts environment. We have so many different ways to get involved in the arts. Like you can do traditional like theater productions, plays, musicals, dance, but we also have lots of other stuff. We have a lot of like improv, comedy groups, a lot, we have so much a cappella. There's just like a lot of different ways to get involved in the arts. And I love how welcoming that like space is for non-majors. I would say in my experience, maybe like 65% of students doing those are involved in like theater or music as a major, but almost 40% I would say are non-majors, and it's just like it's their fun part of the week. And so I feel like I love how supportive that community is, and how much people really come together like across programs, across like career goals and stuff, like just to have fun and make really cool art. And even if you're not interested in doing it, a lot of people will just come to like see shows and support, which is great.
I'd say for me that I never had a compromise on what I love to do outside of class. Kind of a similar vein, but I give this example a lot that my sophomore year I would be taking my organic chemistry classes, and prior to that, I had my radio show on WNER, Northwestern student run radio station, and I think being able to like share my love for music and then go to a class in which I'm super interested in is just very canonical of what happens here at Northwestern. Students have interests outside of the classroom, and they have the ability to express them because there are so many other students, um, so many groups on campus that have common interests where you can really find what you love and make sure that part of your pie is satisfied at all times. So
I would say mine, which is like, I don't know, I don't want to say overrated, but definitely our Armadillo Day, shortened to Dilla Day. It is the largest student-run festival slash concert that we have here at Northwestern. And I just always look forward in the spring seeing on the Instagram like who's going to be our headliner. Last year we had Natasha Benningfield. Previous years we had Sway Lee. The year before that it was Offset, and then the year before that it was like Dominic Fike. So we've had some really cool artists come here, and it's just such a great day, especially when the weather is nice. Everybody is out on the lake field, they're just vibing, trying a bunch of fun new things. They have a bunch of games. I know last year they had a carousel out there, so I think everybody looks forward to Dillo Day.
Yeah, my answer would be it's pretty general, but my friends, uh, I just think like the power of proximity, like they motivate me so much to just keep going and just be a better person in general. And they're so multifaceted, which is really cool to see them shine in like their perspective world. And then at Northwestern, like Jonah said, you can have so many interests and like everyone kind of overlaps, which is really cool because you meet a bunch of people. So yeah, my friends.
Love that. And congrats to all of you for no one just saying the people. We all got creative, we all got specific. Shout out. Incredible. I like this one too. Kind of similar. Or I don't know, what surprised you about Northwestern? What's something that you not didn't necessarily apply ED for, but that you found when you got here and you were happy to find that it existed, or find that that community or experience was available here, or just that quality. I personally didn't realize that I was applying early decision because of Lake Michigan, and then like a year in, I was like, what would I do without Lake Michigan here? I would not be as happy. So I think that was kind of in that vein.
I would say for me, when I was applying, like just diversity was important. And I wasn't really thinking about that too much when applying to schools and then EDing here, but I was like happily surprised, shocked, when I saw how strong at least like the Black community here at Northwestern is. It's really made me feel like safe and at home. So that is what I would say.
For me, I think we always talk about Chicago when we're thinking about Northwestern, but as a suburbs kid myself, I really enjoyed like the community of Evanston. I think it really doesn't get talked about enough as like its own city, and it really is. There's a whole culture here where there's farmers markets during the summer. There's a bunch of coffee shops that are fun to go to, and I think it's nice having that city in Chicago that I certainly wasn't used to coming here, but also having that kind of suburban area that makes it kind of feel at home, at least for me. So that's what surprised me.
Yeah, I would say the same. I mean, I came from a college town. I came from University of Maryland area, and that is great for some people, but for me growing up around it, I knew it was kind of like more busy and like more intense than I was looking for myself. So I loved finding how like calm and peaceful Evanston was. I think there's a really nice relationship between the city of Evanston and Northwestern. And I have just really appreciated that kind of experience, since it's not exactly what I grew up with.
Yeah, I would say for me, being a first generation college student, I was very like apprehensive coming to a university like Northwestern that is so rigorous academically. And I've been able to find other people who are first gen and or low income. I actually did a pre-summer program called Biochemic Cell, which you could stay on campus for 4 weeks and take like these kind of like mock classes in like math and chemistry in a seminar. And it was a really great experience, not only kind of getting used to that like quarter system style, but more importantly, I think beating that community. Those are still the same friends that I have now as a senior. So it's been really great that I have other people who can relate to like my experiences and really support me. So yeah.
Love that. Um, great answers. Love the Evanston shout out. There was a question about kind of that Evanston experience, so thanks for touching on that a little bit, Jonah and Clara. Question about safety there. The thing I always plug, you guys have probably all heard of the blue light system. But I think what's cool at Northwestern is that the blue light system goes off campus. It goes into Evanston as well, which I think is great because a lot of our students tend to live just off campus, and so that blue light system continues, so you never feel like you're too far away from campus, which is really nice. I had a question about the summer programs before applying. Kidman, do you mind expanding a little bit on Biochem Excel? It's such a cool program.
Yeah, so with Biochem Excel, you took a general chemistry course, you took a math course, like a calculus course, and then in the afternoons we had a seminar class, and then we also had like a group project class. So really kind of like, taking 4 classes that you would at like Northwestern essentially for a quarter for 4 weeks. It was a great experience, especially I had learned like AP chemistry and AP calculus during COVID. And so I definitely felt like my skills could have been more refined. And so through this program, it prepared me for a lot of the coursework that I would take, including like, maybe Chem 151 or my Calculus 220-1-2 courses and whatnot. It was just a good refresher. And then especially because you're going to have to take placement exams before you start the school year to place you. If you have like a lot of chemistry experience, or maybe you don't have any chemistry experience, which is totally fine. I felt a lot more comfortable taking these placement exams because I had already seen a lot of that content, which was really great. And so mine was more specific, I would say, for the STEM aspect. But there are other summer programs that we were combined with called like Hodge, which was the engineering specific program. There's another program that's more like interdisciplinary called Bridge, Warren Bridge, I believe specifically. And then additionally, there's another program called SAW, Summer Academic Workshop, which specifically focuses on like academic writing. So there's a ton of these different programs that are really great. I would say if you're interested in exploring, should definitely look out for. I got like a little post-it or letter or whatever in the mail, and that's kind of how I found out about it. But that's how I got more involved in like the Arch Scholars community as well.
Awesome. Appreciate that. So pivoting a little bit, some of the like logistical questions we have in here, just like some fears to quell. quickly, does someone want to, like, how did you make sure that you and your roommate got along? Like, how did you choose a roommate? Someone want to quickly kind of outline that roommate experience?
Yeah, I can go. So I actually chose my roommate. I found him on social media my freshman or my senior year of high school. Just based on like a very vague social or like interest. We both were interested in soccer and we had a great experience. It could have been just as random as it being random. I mean, we really didn't know each other. Um, I think I've from my friends' experience, I had a lot of friends that became best friends with their random roommate and were together all 4 years. So I think one, Northwestern does a good job with they send accepted applicants in this survey, which kind of matches you up with a roommate based on when do you like to wake up, when do you like to go to bed, do you like to study in the dorm, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that kind of will solve a lot of the disputes that were to come between two roommates that but I think there's been a lot of success stories in my experience. So
And then I've decided on Clara to ask. I think you come from probably the warmest place, I'm guessing. So what's your take on the, is it warmer than Nebraska? Probably. What's
Maybe,
your
yeah.
take on the weather?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people ask this a lot, and I always say, like, Maryland, like, we have winter, but we don't have winter like we do here. Um, I promise no one is paying me to say this, but I genuinely have found it to be completely fine. Like, yes, it's very cold, and also as soon as you kind of get over the like mental block and you're just like, you know what? Yes, it's very cold. I'm gonna figure out how to deal with that. It really is okay. I think something I really like is that Northwestern's campus is kind of shaped like this, and so your classes will be more concentrated on one end or the other usually. And so you will never be super far. You're never gonna have to walk like 20 minutes to a class or something. Um, you definitely discover layering. I discovered leggings under jeans last year, which was great. Also, the North Face has a really great student discount. You want to invest once in a really good coat, and you'll never have to do it again. So yeah, honestly, I think maybe this is just me, but I think a lot of it is mind over matter. Earmuffs are a game changer. I kind of didn't get it until last year. I really got it. And also just like something I always like to highlight is that yes, it's very cold, but when I was applying, I did an optional interview with an alumna, and she pointed out, like, well, the thing I loved when I was at Northwestern was that the cold kind of drove everyone inside to hang out. And I actually really think that's true. I noticed a lot more like social connection in the winter. And like when it was winter and I was living on campus, like I would go in and I'd hang out in a common space and there'd be like 5 times more people there than usual. So, like, yes, it gets cold, but you will absolutely be okay, I promise. And also, there are a lot of actually upsides that I think come with that. And then you're also really happy when it's April.
So true. And then everyone goes outside, it's like sunny and 60 degrees, and suddenly it feels like it's the warmest summer day you've ever experienced. Um, has anyone painted the rock? Quick show of hands. Yes? No? No one painted the rock here?
I've guarded the rock.
Just not,
So
they just
no,
didn't
I
trust
wasn't part of
Jonah's
the yeah.
his creative
I
abilities. That's
I
funny.
guess to like give a little background,
Yeah.
we have this, it's one of our campus traditions. We have this rock in the middle part of campus where student groups can guard it for 24 hours, meaning like you physically will have to sit outside around the rock. And then you're able to paint it. A lot of groups do it based on their mission, but it can be literally anything. And I would assume there's a very, very thick layer of paint on that rock that is from many, many groups.
Yeah,
So.
at least like 9 or 10 inches thick. Clara did mention interviews. I will say we don't have alumni interviews anymore. We do have opportunities to talk with alums before you apply. So as someone else asked about cat chats, definitely kind of as we're wrapping up here, the thing that I would encourage y'all to do is just to continue to connect with current students, connect with alumni via those cat chats. That's a great way to get to know Northwestern, continue to ask your questions. You're also welcome to reach out to your regional representatives. So everywhere you all have, wherever you attend high school, you have a regional representative assigned to that region. So be sure to reach out via email if you have questions about the application or anything about the admissions process. us. And then our general Northwestern email, ug-admission@northwestern.com is always, or sorry, northwestern.edu is always a good one to go to if you have any general questions at all. We kind of asked a little bit about this earlier in the program of kind of why you applied, early decision, what kind of made you make that decision. So let's ask a little bit more kind of specifically about now. Why are you glad you made that decision? If you are, why are you glad you're on campus? And what's your kind of why Northwestern now? The thing that kind of keeps you here, the thing that keeps you excited about Northwestern.
I can start. I mentioned this earlier, but honestly, the people here really motivate me to just keep going, as generic of an answer as that is. It's the truth. Like, once you get here, I saw a question about like the type of people at Northwestern, but there's no way to like put the people who go here into one bubble, and that's the beauty of the school. Like, you will meet literally every single person under the sun, in the best way possible, and it's truly motivating, and it gets you through the 4 or 5 years, however long you're here, and then after, the connections are just, I mean, amazing. So yeah.
I think everything that I could have envisioned a college experience being was satisfied with Northwestern. I think it being a Big Ten school, there's football games that are exciting to go to. A Research One institution, I've been able to really get involved in some very incredible topics with my mentor and feel like I'm making a difference in the scientific community. The advising, feeling like I was supported along the way. I've had incredible professors who are renowned in their own fields, and I think I could go on, but like I said, there's everything that you could think of that you want your college experience to be was satisfied.
I think for me, like just all the resources that we truly offer here. I mean, whether that's resources in the Office of Undergraduate Research, or like for me, like mentoring and like Arch Scholars and whatnot. But just even like things I didn't even know about that Northwestern had. So, like, for example, Northwestern did a specific trip to Taiwan for like 10 days that I was able to really go and learn more about like the culture, minoring in like Chinese language. And it was really cool being in Taiwan for 10 days, actually using the language that I had been like practicing in during my undergrad, and just learning different like cultural things too, visiting different locations, just some really cool opportunities that like I didn't even know existed that I've been able to explore through Northwestern. And then additionally, like another one is like NU CAP was another one where it helps students who have like low shadowing hours. So Northwestern really does want to help you, and we do have the resources. But it's about like, I think, looking into some of those resources that you may not even know that they exist.
Yeah, I've often like described Northwestern as like my Goldilocks school. Like my parents are both college professors, and so I had a lot of opinions about what I was looking for, and so did they. So there were, I think, just a lot of reasons that I was really, really happy that I applied ED. I think first of all, in terms of location, like I grew up close to DC, so I knew I wanted to be near a city, but I knew I didn't want to live in a city. I toured one city school, and I was like, that's not for me. So I really like that Evanston is day to day very peaceful, very calm, but also there's plenty to do in Chicago, and you can go in as frequently as you want to. In terms of size, I really like that the school's small enough that I can walk around and recognize people, but big enough that there's always like someone new to get to know. There's not like the same four people in all of your classes, which like I came from a small high school and that was definitely how it was. And then yeah, in terms of the program I've been in, like the theater major and the music school have been really fantastic. They have really, really great like networking opportunities. They do a lot of really fantastic like career development stuff during the undergraduate experience. So that's been great. And also I think I always say like Northwestern I think represents itself really well in the admissions process. Like everything that I felt like I was promised or told about the school really has turned out to be true. And I feel really lucky for that. Like I feel like I knew exactly what I was signing up for, and the school really delivered on giving me what I was told I was going to have in my college experience.
Love that. Well, thanks everyone so much for joining us today. Thanks for all of your great questions. I know we didn't get to all of them, but so definitely continue to kind of reach out if you have questions. Find us online. We have so much programming on our YouTube channel. We have a really great, we've talked a lot about pre-health. We've talked a lot about research, journalism here today. We have great programs online on our YouTube page of all of those panels of students just like this, kind of talking about that experience, campus partners, talking about the support that they offer. So absolutely check out those resources. Check out that YouTube channel. Check out our Instagram. We just had a TikTok go as almost as viral as we typically get with over just under 4,000 likes. Shout out to our social media manager. So definitely keep connecting and keep getting to know Northwestern. Thank you all again so much for being here. Thanks to our wonderful students. And we will see you all soon. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.